are, episode 2 of the 904 Pro Show. I'm Pat Sickens with Adaptive Jacks. Joining me today, Shaun Murphy, the president and owner of Pablo Beach Insurance, a man who may not need an introduction, someone who's a bit of a digital celebrity around Jacksonville. Shaun, thanks for joining me today.
Patrick, thanks for having me.
No problem. So the reason I brought Shaun on, Shaun and I have known each other for a long time, have been doing content together. Like I said, he is someone who's really put himself in front of the camera, and so hopefully he'll be really comfortable with today's recording. He's done quite a bit of video. So Shaun, first, let's talk about Pablo Beach and sort of how you've gone from early on in your career to, was it 15 years now, right?
Yeah, almost 16 years. I was in the captive world, insurance world prior to, and my wife and I started Pablo Beach Insurance in 2005. Purely organic to start with, and we just grinded it out, and it's been a great ride. We're an independent agency. We have many companies that we represent. We have good relationships with our carriers. We have good relationships with our clients. Our bottom line is we don't work for the company, and we basically work for the client. So we're not in the business to just sell insurance for a carrier's needs. We're in the business to help the client navigate through this maze, and now kind of a crazy maze with the property market in Florida, for what's in their best interest.
Right. Locally owned, casual approach, professional results.
That's right.
I just came up with that.
Yes. That's on our website.
So Shaun and I actually met 7-8 years ago now. I was doing a speech around my book. Shaun was in the audience. I was talking about Jacksonville Beach. Shaun came up with his Pablo Beach shirt, and it was kind of a weird meeting up in Tennessee.
It was in Nashville. Yep. Yeah. It was kind of ironic.
Yeah, and Shaun was getting ready to go through a rebrand for the 10-year.
Yep. And you helped us with everything. It was fantastic. Yeah. And here we are today.
Here we are. Yeah, and it's been a great evolution. Like I said, Shaun has done a tremendous job of rebranding the agency and taking what is not necessarily an exciting and fun, it's not easy to get insurance out in the marketplace and make it look appealing, but Shaun has done a great job. You've done some amazing things like getting out in the kayak after storms, basically in the eye of hurricanes, just some crazy stuff, and people have talked about it, which is great. So when we talk about just some of the looking back on some of the fun things you've done, whether it's those things or others.
You talk about the kayak thing. After Hurricane Matthew had hit, I called you and said, Patrick, what do you think about me getting in a kayak and going underneath a pier that was destroyed? Now they're still working on it. How many years later? That was 2016. And he goes, you're really going to do that? And I was like, well, yeah. So I took a kayak down there, jumped in the water, and did some video. And I had one CEO of a company call me and says, were you just out in a kayak? He goes, sharks live there in the ocean. I'm like, yeah, that's their house. That's where they live. Of course they do. So what's funny is, which I may have not have told you, when I was coming in on the kayak, and I've surfed my whole life, so I caught a wave on the kayak, and I was coming on in, and it tumped me at the end, and I lost my sunglasses. I had my cell phone. It was in a Ziploc. I made sure it was sealed. I had it zipped in my pocket. I didn't think about my sunglasses, but they're gone. Someone had a new pair of Costa Del Mar, so what the heck?
Well, it's all part of the greater good, I suppose.
Yeah, I probably should have had that on film, right? A blooper?
Yeah, we've definitely had some bloopers, but it really has been just an amazing thing to see how powerful content can be. I remember it was like the second or third video that we put out there, and we started thinking thematically about what's now become, again, kind of this well-known thing around the beaches and Jacksonville. It's Whiteboard Wednesday, Field Trip Friday. I remember the first one where you were out, it was right after, I think it was Matthew again, where the dunes had been completely washed away. You were down at 16th. And we were talking about how this was going to work because I was still up in Virginia at the time.
Right.
And you just sat there in selfie mode and kind of showed the beaches, and it was probably less than a 2-minute video. And after a few months, and I've talked about this in speeches and blogs and stuff like that. I mean, it had over 125,000 views,
Yeah.
organic.
Yeah.
Not a
It
penny
was
spent.
It was crazy. It was nuts.
And I told you that it was all planned. I knew exactly
Yeah,
what was going to
exactly.
happen. Yeah.
Well, and the branding that you helped us with and guiding us through this new world, because I didn't understand the terminologies. I didn't understand the vocabulary. It was going over my head. You brought it down to earth. I wanted to get my hands dirty. You allowed it to not be totally a control freak, and we just worked together, and it worked.
Yeah.
And it helped brand us. It helped drive business to us. It still is. It's a vital part of who we are and how we operate and how we communicate with our clients. We even are doing digital newsletters, which some of our customers are seeing, which is very well received. And when you look at it, we've got less than a 1% unsubscribe rate, so people actually are liking what we're doing and taking that, what you just said, the boring insurance world, and turn it into something that's more educational in ways. We try to have fun in some ways, and so forth. So
yeah, it's a fine line to walk too. I mean, you're always trying to educate because there's a lot going on, like you said, and I'm sure we're going to get to some of this in a second of with what's going on in the market, when storms are coming, what's going on with some insurance fraud and abuse, but then also trying to keep someone's attention because a lot of what we see, and not just in your industry, but people just get very stuck in their jargon and the technical aspects or whatever. And so it's really been kind of walking that line and humanizing because Pablo Beach is made up of people, and so to get those personalities out, specifically you as the leader, to get that out and to show people what the agency is all about has been, it's not an easy task, but you've done.
No, it's not. And I've even had agency owners, I've even had business people at other businesses come to me and go, how are you doing this? Why? It looks easy. Well, it's like, well, actually it's not, because here it is, say it's the first of the month and the 1st of December. We're not in December yet, but what are we actually doing? I'm not waking up, and you're not waking up going, well, what are we going to do today on social media, or where are we going to go? We're basically a month ahead. So what we're doing is well planned out. We're working on basically first quarter of 2021 with some ideas and content.
Right.
So this is the end of, it's not even Thanksgiving yet. So it does take time. It does take planning. And you've got to keep that interest, with your client. Short and sweet, which is not what today is, but anyway, this is more or less.
We can edit. No, this is great. So let's get into a few things, because I know, obviously you've been putting out a lot of content specifically with what's going on in the world. But I think to go all the way back, you had mentioned it up front that you are an independent agency. And I know you've talked about it a few times, and I think there's a lot of maybe confusion around an independent agency. What does that mean versus, save you 15%, those types of things. So what, as plain as you can, what is an independent agency?
A lot of people will get online, buy insurance, but they're going to be their own insurance agent. So good luck. I've had clients do that. Then they had an accident or a claim. They call back and go, I can't believe what I've done. I had someone with 250, 500 limits on auto. They totaled their car. Someone's injured. And they went and were their own insurance agent, went online, got their saved 15%, and had 10, 20 limits and had nothing but a problem. And that's the problem. Right. So we're here to help in that way. It goes much deeper, but that's just an example.
Got it. Yep. No, that makes sense. And so let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial part of this. Like you said, you started in 2005. You and your wife, started Pablo Beach. You'd come from the captive side, so really selling one product line, I guess.
Yes.
So being a lifelong Beaches resident, born and raised, doing the whole thing. Let's talk a little bit about the evolution of going from that side to owning an agency. I mean,
well, when Emily and I started Pablo Beach Insurance, I was captive, so I had one way of doing things. It was one product, one company. We sold for the company. And being independent, I will say this a million times more, and I've said it a million times at this point, as I never really got into the insurance business until I was an independent agent, because I didn't understand really what I was actually doing for all those years. I was selling for a company. I wasn't really, not that I wasn't looking out for the client's best interest. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the inventory of carriers, to be able to look at the market, check a carrier's financials,
Right.
say, oh, they may be having some problems, might not want to go there. Price point carriers get into the business and they're driving price down. And well, that may not be the best thing. If you live by price, you may die by price, so it really opened our eyes. So it was tough at first, but that's who we are, and it's worked.
Right. Well, you talked about checking the financial stability and really being there more so than you were before on the client side. And we've seen it a few times where insurance carriers that people have flocked to because it's low premiums, right? So people out there just shopping for the cheapest insurance.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they wake up one day and that carrier's gone. So you want to talk about, I know there was like at one point 91,000.
Last year, a company went down last fall and put 91,000 policies on the street in a day.
Now, so what does that exactly mean? So
that means when a carrier shuts down, basically they're done. They lose their rating. They lost their financial rating, and that means they had 91,000 policyholders that were basically had 30 days to get out and go find another carrier. The problem with that is the market's not really built to take on that much business that hits the streets that fast. It's a lot more difficult than just saying that, but the state of the market that we're in right now, in the property market, it's worse than it was a year ago. And with COVID hitting, and it may have pushed back some hard decisions for the Department of Insurance or the people that make these type of decisions on whether a carrier loses its rating or not to be able to stay in business or viable. It was pushed back, but the problems didn't go away.
Right.
They still exist. Like the assignment of benefit has been a big problem. Escalating attorney's fees, that's a big problem. Going 3 years without a storm, or the last 3 years, 16, 17, 18, with Matthew, Irma, and Michael hitting Florida after 11 years of no storm in the state of Florida. A lot of carriers fell asleep at the switch, and rates started going down, and all of a sudden storms start hitting, and there's not enough reserves for a lot of companies, and I think we may see some fallout coming. So right now, what we're dealing with is carriers are raising rates. Not just a carrier, all carriers are raising rates. And it's not pretty, but it's where we're at. And with that, the reinsurance has gone up, so the carriers have to buy the reinsurance to be able to stay viable, to pay these catastrophic events, to stay in business,
right,
to be able to make clients whole. So here we are stuck in the same situation we were a year ago. I don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen, really. But I would say if your rates go up, call your agent, call us. We'll try to find something maybe that's okay or better, but underwriting guidelines have changed too.
Right.
So if the market was this much and you could, carrier would have an underwriting bucket of say this deep, what they'll accept, 20-year roof, a 15-year-old water heater, a this, that, the other, a prior claim of minor, all of a sudden that underwriting bucket has changed down to about like this. So the carriers have tightened the screws and really gotten tough on underwriting.
Makes sense.
So that's in a nutshell.
Right. Well, and I mean, between that and you mentioned, assignment of benefits, there's a lot of things that have happened over the last few years that people may not be aware of. I know you've talked about it a lot. They did a segment on the news about just the overall market. So there's a lot of things going on. And I think to your point, if you're out there shopping, click, cheap rate, that could really be dangerous because, I don't, as much as you and I talk, I still obviously am not an insurance agent, don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on.
Right.
And so it can be dangerous if you don't have someone who is in there all day, every day, looking at this stuff and trying to, be the best advocate for their clients that can.
Yeah. It's a tough market, and the agents that are taking it, head on are going to be okay, and their clients are going to be okay. But the ones that have been building their businesses based on price and price only, they're going to have problems, and so are their clients.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about 904 real quick.
Okay.
Something that you and I have talked about for a long time,
Yeah.
and it's finally come to fruition. So,
Yeah.
We had Chad Houseman on the last episode, and we talked, about We still don't know. I had recorded that thinking that we'd know the election results, and we still don't. Obviously, we're not getting political, but sort of the same thing where, the president doesn't control the mortgage rates. They're certainly not going to control insurance rates. And so we've had this great, conversation that's already started. We're having a great conversation today. I assume everyone else will agree with me. But talk a little bit about, 904 and just, someone that has been in business for 31 years, here locally, someone who, kind of understands the bigger goal of getting this group together and providing content to our viewers. What are your overall thoughts on 904, just the group overall and what we're doing?
Well, as you know, we've been talking about this for years, and we always thought it would be cool or really neat to have a group of professionals in different businesses that can help refer people to other people. I've had situations where someone says, "Hey, do you know someone that can build a screen room for me on my new house?" It's like, "Yeah, sure." Next thing you know, 2 weeks later, I get a call and say, "Yeah, I gave the guy $1,500 as a deposit to build it, came through a bunch of lumber in the yard, never showed back up." So I'm kind of the advocate. I don't want to lose a customer over me referring somebody to somebody and they blow it.
Right.
So basically, I'm very careful and have been since a couple situations about referring somebody. So with that idea, we were going back and forth and said, wouldn't this be cool? So, well, here it is.
Right.
So we've got, 5 or 6 businesses basically at this point,
Right.
that are of different types of businesses, and they kind of complement each other. It's all spun around someone that owns a house, needs a mortgage, has a pool, wants to work out, needs a financial guidance, maybe a plumber, electrician, an AC company. All these things kind of work together. So that's, in a simple form, that's kind of the concept.
Right. Yeah. It's peer reviewed, and it's us as the kind of the founding group, the first guys that got in. We talked about it last time. It was I can't claim this being my idea, but Chad Houseman was talking about everyone's got a guy. And so it's really formalizing that kind of concept of,
right.
And it's a guy, it's a female, to whoever, but everyone's got someone. And so formalizing that, not only for us as the business owners here in Jacksonville, but for our end users to know that there's credibility in when they go on the site or when they see someone on the show, they're going to know that that person is credible, that they can feel comfortable knowing that.
Right.
Whatever
right.
it is, if they're a business owner, they need marketing, if they need insurance for their business
sure.
or for their home, auto, flood, whatever, that they don't have to wonder if this is a reputable company that they're calling, and they're also only going to get one call because there is that exclusivity.
Right. As soon as you go into Angie's List or something, you're going to get 27 phone calls, and you're just going to get badgered.
Right.
Which
and
is
then
not,
that gets sold off, and then now you're getting all this
yeah.
spam, and that's so.
No.
That was one of the big reasons we did this, was to bring the group together. To bring credibility to to the end user, so they can select it and feel good knowing that they're going to get the job done right, and that they're not going to get braided with 15 different phone calls and stuff like that.
Well, and the other thing I want to point out too is we were trying to, and I'm not making light or fun of this outfit, but it's a B&I group is very referral oriented. This is anything but a B&I group because no one's keeping score on anybody.
Right.
And this is a pure organic, hey, do you have a guy, a
right.
gal, whatever, that can, yes, we do. They're on our group. This is who we would recommend. Pick who you want, but there's 18, 20, how many ever professionals we have involved, they're vetted through us. If it doesn't work and we have a problem, it's like, maybe it's not going to be right. So it's not a scorekeeping type of situation that's, I've got to send him 3 referrals, or he's not going to send me 3 referrals, and then I'm going to get kicked out of the deal or whatever.
Right.
It ain't like that.
Right.
Anything but.
Yeah, and we've all known each other, especially, from my side of this thing, bringing these people together. I've known people from about 10 years up to, Casey Clements at Brower Financial Group, who I've known for 25 years. So
right.
There's a lot of history there, and it's not like we're just picking people, Google searching, getting the number one company, and
right.
away we go.
Yeah.
So. Well, Shaun, thank you for coming
Thanks,
on.
Patrick,
Episode
for
1,
having me.
I know for a fact that you will be back a lot because there's a lot going on in the marketplace.
Yeah, we'll keep you informed for sure.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell them real quick, How do they connect with you? Where are you?
Our
This is
local
the
Jacksonville
test.
number is 904-224-7000, PabloBeachInsurance.com. We specialize in the property casualty market. We also do a lot of Medicare. So if you're aging into Medicare, let us know. We'll guide you through the process. We represent Florida Blue with that. So that's pretty much it. That's us.
And you're on social media?
Social media, everywhere, yeah. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. I missed something? Instagram. Yeah, all of it.
Everywhere. They're everywhere. So check them out. They're always entertaining. They're out there all the time. You can find them on 904 Pros, 904pros.com. Like you said, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're everywhere, and certainly find them. Give them a call. They're great people, family owned. Been around for a long time, and we'll definitely be able to help you. Shaun, thanks again for coming on.
See you
next time.
Okay.